All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I'm going through a series of video presentations in our HTML sandbox. When I get done with these, we're going to start on a CSS sandbox, and after that, we'll have a JavaScript sandbox. All right, so this is kind of what we're going to be covering in the morning section, and then in the afternoon, we're going to be building an actual website. Now, there's a couple more things in here that I really didn't talk about that I'd like to mention to you. And that is, so right after our radio buttons, I'm going to put another thing in here. And I'm going to put in a label. And I'm going to say for equal contact via, contact via. And input type equals checkbox name equal contact via ID equal, we'll put in here phone call, like that, phone call, and I'm going to put in here phone call, again with a couple of non-breaking spaces. And then let me copy this. All right, and the next one will say email with email. And the last one will say text. And we'll have our two BR tags after it. All right, and if we look again, we now have this, contact via, phone call, message, or email. Now, I don't know, I've got this phone call, message. I somehow screwed up the way I've got this in here again, so. Contact via, let's just say call, spaces, email, spaces, text. Looks a little funky to me, but we'll work on it. So contact via call, message. Message is in there twice. Maybe that's what's opening it up. I don't know. Oh, that's it. For equal message, IT equal message, message. I've got text. Oh, there, no. Let's get rid of this message thing that we put in here because I'm going to put a different thing in there in just a second anyway. Let's see if that fixed it. All right, so contact via call. I've got the word message in there every time, but we're going to fix that right now. Email, text, but it's putting the word message in there. Ah, that's because I've got this stuff laying over there for message. Okay, we'll fix that. So that's over here, kind of hidden. See that? All right. So There we go. Call, email, text. Now the difference between these two is not just the fact that one is circular and one is a square. These are radio buttons, which means only one can be selected at a time. But after you select one, one must be selected. These are checkboxes, which means we can select none, one, two, or all three. All right, let's add just a couple more things in here. All right. And this will look kind of silly, but I'm going to put it in like this anyway. And that is, let's see, I'll just grab these two. Copy. So this will say birth date, not birth date, birth date. All right, and this will also say birth date. And this will be type equal date. And the name will be birth date. And the ID will be birth date. And we will again have two. There we go. Again, I'm just trying to make you aware of some of these different tags and things that are in here. So notice this put in what's called a date picker. I can come in and put in today's date, 06. What if I try to put in 44? All right, notice it changed it to just 4. It's not allowing me. So how about if I put in 31? All right. I'm surprised it let me do that because there aren't 31 days in here in June. But we'll just put in today's date. So 2021. And that's okay. 2021. There we go. But I can also click on here. And if I moved it up, so let's just move it way the hay up here, and let's say I chose January 16th, okay, of 2020. So there it is. There's another one that you can put in here. And again, this would be kind of a silly thing to ask somebody, but just so you see this, I'm going to put in here favorite color. All right, and this will be of type color. Call this fav color. And now I have what's called a color picker in there. And if I click on it, it opens it up. So if my favorite color is yellow, let's say, or I can come in here and I can say, what is yellow? Is it green and blue? So 0, 255, 255. Oh, that's not the right color. Well, I know red and blue is supposed to be purple, right? 255. So red, so that'd be 0 and 255. So there's purple. I'm just showing you some of the stuff that you can put in here. All right, we're not worrying about styling it. We're just worrying about putting in the actual components and what they are. All right. Now, this submit button doesn't go anywhere. We already talked about that, and we got that, but don't worry about it. But I want to show you one more type of button you quite often see when you are working on a form. All right, so I'm going to put it right next to my other button. So I'm going to put it literally right there. But I will put, instead of spaces, I'll put blank lines. I'll put a couple spaces in here. And instead of submit, this one will say reset. The ID will also be reset. The name will also be reset. And the text will be reset. What does that do? Well, let's fill out everything that's in here. So there's my information. Contact me via text. Birth date, I'll just put in today's date. Favorite color, it's blue, but I'm not going to search for it, so we'll just say 255 here. Okay, and I'm going to now, with all that stuff filled in, instead of clicking submit, I'm going to click reset and watch what happens. Reset sets the form back to its default values. All right. So the default here, even if I put in male and I click reset, notice how it switches to female. If I check all these, and let's go to other here, and I'll change this color to anything else, it doesn't matter. There. Okay. And if I click reset, boom, it all gets reset back. All right. So that's a lot of the things that I wanted to show you here. Now, what you may or may not have noticed with some of the stuff we've been working on, I'm going to come down here and where we've got this go get the recipe thing. All right. I'm going to right mouse click on here and I'm going to choose inspect. Now, don't worry if you don't understand what this means. It's no big thing. But I want to click on here. I want to find that paragraph that's in here. All right. So this paragraph that's right here. See all the other stuff that I've got in here. And there's my site. All right. And what I want to do in here, and I'm having nothing but trouble trying to show it to you, but let's see. If you click on something that's in here, okay, try this again. Let me quickly create another page, okay? I'm going to put another page in here. So let's put in a second page right here. So I'm going to do a file, new file. Okay, and again, I'll just make this an HTML file. So, well, I got to save it first, unfortunately. File, save as. We'll save it right out where the other one is, and I'm just going to call this test.html. Okay, and I'll put in this and tab. All right, I'm going to put in a couple paragraphs here. Oops. All right, so let's put in 2 paragraphs. So I'm going to say paragraph, and we'll say lorem 100. And I'm not even going to worry about formatting it or anything. And I'm going to put in another one, another paragraph with lorem. Just put in 10. Okay, so I've got that. All right. Now I want to open this one up with live server. You can see what it looks like. All right, I'm going to right mouse click and choose inspect. Now, what you may or may not be able to tell, or maybe you could have told that or couldn't have told that, I don't know. But notice when I come in here and I highlight the paragraph, okay, that paragraph, the whole thing is highlighted in here. Let me come in here and make this bigger. So I'm going to change it to an iPad Pro. That's fine. All right. And I realize it's kind of hard to read, but that's not the point. The point is if I put my mouse here, notice how the whole line is highlighted from beginning to end with a little bit of margin on each end. Okay? Paragraphs are referred to as block level elements. So they take up pretty much the whole width of the screen. That second paragraph also, if I highlight that one, you're going to see the same thing. You say, well, it didn't take up the whole, because it's not big enough, because I only put 10 words in there. Now, I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to take this paragraph, this big thing that's got 100 lines in it, or 100 words in it, and I'm going to take a bunch of these words, and I'm going to bold them. So I'm going to put a strong tag here, and I'm going to grab just a whole bunch, and then I'm going to end my strong tag here. All right. Now, when I look at it in here, when I open it up with live server, you can see what's highlighted, right? Everybody sees that. However, notice when I open it up in here and I highlight it, notice how the bold stuff doesn't go on its own line. All right. Now, what I want to get to in here, and I'll let W3 Schools help me here, and that is using inline versus block elements. All right. A block level element always starts on a new line. A paragraph is a block line element, for example. Now, an inline element doesn't start on a new line, and typically inline elements are put inside of block level elements. So a block level element always starts on a new line. It takes up the full width available as far as it can. It has a top margin and a bottom margin. All right? Whereas an inline does not. So here are the block level elements. I'm not going to go over all of these right now, but you'll notice if you look in there, one of them that's shown is the paragraph tag. All right? Now, an inline element, as is mentioned right there, does not start on a new line. It only takes up as much width as you give it. So where these right here, these, 22 or 23 different tags, those are inline. Those are block level. These are the inline tags. All right? Now, do I expect that that totally makes sense to you? No, but I just wanted to show it to you. All right? The other thing that's going to become, I'm going to go talk about two more things in this particular, if I can. If I have to, I'll have one more lecture in this. But the next thing I want to talk about in here, in fact, I will start up a new one, is we're going to talk about div versus span. All right. And after we do the div versus span, I'm going to show you quickly a couple, I'm going to talk classes versus IDs, and I'm going to very quickly show you the new HTML5 tags. And that'll be it for the day one material that we're going to go over. So, like I said, I'll be back with that. In fact, let's quickly, maybe we can do that in here. HTML5 Semantic Tags. All right. These are the new tags that were put in for HTML5. And you go, well, what do you mean HTML5? HTML has gone through a lot of versions. And probably somewhere around 10 or 15 years ago, they came up with the newest version, which is version 5. And they added these new tags. These are referred to as semantic tags. Semantic means basically they make sense internally to the system that, oh, it's a header, oh, it's a navigation area, etc. Now, the header is typically put up at the top, the footer is typically put at the bottom. That's not even always the case, but that's usually the way it is. Then you've got a navigation section. So what does all that mean? Well, this would be an example of a header that's got a navigation system in it, right here. All right. Then you've got sections and articles and asides. And the footer is at the bottom of the page. So the footer would be down here. So that's the footer. Now, to talk about these tags, let's talk about the easiest one first, the aside. Maybe you have seen this, and I don't know with the people watching this lecture. You might never have even seen a newspaper in your life. All right. But again, I actually used to be a newspaper reporter. But if I were to go out, and let's just say I go out to jsonline.com. I still get my regular paper here. All right. So let's say that I went out here and I don't know. I found, let's just say, right here, this article. It says, WTMJ's Gene Miller, who's been a Milwaukee personality for 40 years, announces he's retiring. Okay? So we've got this article here. And let's say along the side right here, we had another article. And that article said, friends, remember Gene Miller as a disc jockey. All right. So that article by itself could have been put there all by itself. All right. And it's linked to this article, but it's not the same thing. It's what's referred to as tangential to that article. Probably a better example would be if you've ever seen a story in here that says something like this, all right, where let's just say there was a fire over here. Okay, so let's say there was some kind of a fire. And then over here, they've got, let's assume that there was a little kid who was rescued in the fire. And over here, there's an article on this is the third child that this fireman is or fire person has rescued. That would be more or less that would be an aside. So it's a special article, a special tag that you could put in that's got tangential information that's sort of about this, but not necessarily. It could stand on its own or it could not. Sections and articles are the hardest because some people believe that you should section everything off and then make a series of articles and asides. Other people believe you don't need sections, they should just be articles. But when you think about sections, again, if you've ever looked at a newspaper, there's like a sports section, maybe a comic section, an editorial section, etc. That's kind of what we're talking about in here. There's other ones too. Figures now have their own figure tag and a fig caption tag. And there's some other ones, but I just gave you the main ones in here. These are the ones that we care about the most. Okay, and again, if you want more, you can take a look in here. I don't like to sit and read to you from this stuff, but you can take a look if you're interested. So again, when I come back, I'm going to talk about div and span. And after we talk about div and span, let's see. We'll talk about classes and IDs. All right.